So my name is Jake Bustos. I take care of employer brand and early careers for Europe at the Coca-Cola company. Been with the system for nearly 6 years now, and I think you can tell by my accent, I'm not from here, I come from Asia. But I've been to different continents. I had the opportunity to work in the Middle East a few years back. Last year, I was summoned to London, I'm based out of London, to launch our early careers program from scratch. So that was an exciting mission. And today, I want to ask you a provocative question. What are we doing today to equip future leaders in our respective organizations, let's say in government, in academia, in the private sector? Are we investing the right skills and capabilities to equip the future workforce? So let's ask ourselves that question. So now, while we think about that question, what I'll do today is to provide some exciting, interesting insights on how we can answer that question through a clear strategy, through a framework. Before that, maybe we can have a quick view of what Coca-Cola has been doing through the years to innovate, to evolve as a company, and also equip ourselves for the future. So let's watch this. Oh, there you go. See, things happen for a reason. It was just teasing you guys. So let's watch this beautiful video of the Coca-Cola company. Wow, such a powerful video. I hope you guys liked it. And I guess what I just want to highlight here is evolution. So the Coca-Cola has remained one of the world's most iconic brands for over 138 years because it never stopped evolving. Evolution is part of our DNA. And if you think about it, through the years we've evolved with consumers, we've pushed the boundaries of innovation, we constantly try to reimagine how things work and how we can positively make a meaningful impact on the world today. That's why, if you think about it, there's a lot to do with technology. Technology being a key enabler of our future. Like we were able to accelerate and achieve a lot of progress because of technology. But if you think about it further, technology is an enabler. The main driver of our evolution, the main driver of our success as a company, just like for you guys, just like for every other company, would be people. That's why it's very important for us to invest in the talent today and in the talent tomorrow. So today, I'm very passionate about this topic because people always mistaken me as part of it. Unfortunately, not anymore, because I'm millennial. But today, I want to talk about equipping Gen Z for the future. So Gen Z, it's a very interesting group. If I may ask, who are Gen Zers here? Oh wow, we have quite a handful, so you can totally relate with probably what I'm going to present. If you want to challenge the observations, the global statistics, would love to have a healthy conversation. So I'm fake Gen Z. I want to be Gen Z, but I'm not. So I've been in the workforce for over 13 years. It's funny because when I was in Brussels, like A few months back, I was with the interns, I was with the graduates, we were hanging out. There was a big boss who went and said, "Oh, the interns." I'm like, "Oh no, I shaved." So I really look young, but do not be fooled because I've been in the workforce for quite a while now. My bread and butter has always been talent acquisition, employer branding, and of course, early careers. I've moved to several roles in HR before, but in my latest mission, I just keep coming back to early careers. I think it's really my first love. So let's talk about Gen Z then. Let's take a step back. Who is Gen Z today? So I think it's 1/4 of the world population. So we have a total of 2 billion globally. They're now 1/3 of the global workforce. They're considered by UNESCO as the most educated and most diverse generation ever. And they're fully digital in a sense that since 1990s, they grew up in the internet. So Gen Z, by the way, by definition, starts 1997 until 2012. And of course, if we double click on Europe and Bulgarian context, so you have here 20% of our labor market is now Gen Z, and they like switching jobs by virtue of they are constantly looking for the right fit. So they're challenging the norms that you have to stay in a company forever. Now they are courageous, they are bold to hop because they want to find the best fit for them in a company. They're looking for a company where their values will be aligned, where they will really have a fun, meaningful experience as they contribute on impact. And if you think about it, we double click on Bulgaria, we have 72% of Bulgarian Gen Z wanting more global exposure. So this means they want to explore opportunities to have further studies abroad, have more global projects, especially if they're working with multinational or companies which have global exposure. And this is a very interesting insight. On the fourth line, you can see 80% of Gen Zers, and the Gen Zers in the room, feel free to validate if this is true. They actually first check social media to get to learn more about the company. So that's going to be TikTok, Instagram. For other markets, that's going to be Snapchat, etc., versus looking at LinkedIn or your company website. And then another thing, there's now a very, very strong consensus that they're looking for fair pay, stability, well-being as key attributes of a company before they make a decision to actually apply for the role. So what are we doing to actually equip them? Now that we had a bit of a refresher of who they are, what they do, I think it's good to look at what are we doing to equip them for the future. So I keep asking this question a lot, right? But the prerequisite question is, are they even career ready to begin with? So you can see here, half of the employers today feel that they're not career ready yet. They have certain skills gap. Like for example, they don't have strong communication skills. They're not as familiar with work etiquette. A lot of their background comes from the academe, a lot of theories, but they're not able to put them into practice. So they lack the real world challenges. So they're the ones who also lived through the pandemic. They had limited interactions in school, et cetera, et cetera. So it provides us an opportunity to provide them more meaningful experience. So as institutions, what are we doing to actually equip them for the future if employers today feel that they're not as career ready yet? And with that, the same problem goes to Coca-Cola because in the Coca-Cola company, we are top-heavy as an organization. We don't have a lot of Gen Zers, so in the Europe operating unit, we're 3% Gen Z. And the number is alarming because if we want to evolve as an organization, we want to win candidates, we want to win consumers, we want to make sure that we have enough Gen Z representation that will help build our organizational capability for the future. So what we did, so this is where the employer branding element comes in, we want to attract and win the Gen Z audience to win Coca-Cola. And we want to leverage our consumer brand because the consumer brand is well known. It's the world's #1 beverage brand. So we leverage the consumer brand so that we can have a halo effect to the employer brand. So imagine we didn't have early careers in Coca-Cola Europe, but now we're creating a simple, powerful campaign that leverages the power of our consumer brand to attract talent. And that is using the imagination platform. Coca-Cola is a massive company, and should you join the company, you will be able to imagine so many possibilities of what you can do by being part of us. And it started with a simple awareness campaign, which is this. Yep, starts with imagination. And with that, last year we were able to launch from scratch our new early careers program. So we had 3 simple objectives in the Coca-Cola company. The first one is we want to build a future leadership talent pipeline. Right now it doesn't exist. We're top-heavy as an organization, and that means we have a lot of middle management, senior leadership positions. We don't have a lot of early talent. The problem is when the middle managers move up, let's say they get promoted, they move laterally, they move to different locations, it's hard for us to find a talent pool that will replace them. They don't have a succession pool. We have to recruit outside. It takes 65 days on average, Europe data, for us to fill those roles. But there's critical need for us to drive middle management capability. This is where we realized we needed to evolve the talent strategy, that while we're recruiting external talent simultaneously, it would be more strategic for us to also invest in high potential, young talents who we can groom as future leaders of the company. So this is where we created an intentional program wherein we recruited lots of interns who can be feeders of our graduate program, and then graduate program will be feeders of our future middle management position. So that's why when you create an early careers program, you start with intentionality, right? Why are you recruiting interns? Why are you recruiting graduates or early talent level positions? And that's because you're building a talent pipeline for the organization. The second is multi-generational representation, and I think this one you're quite familiar with. A more diverse company is more performant. We're able to drive better business results when we're able to check and balance each other's perspectives. So we're top-heavy as an organization. We have a lot of experts, but I think the Gen Z are such a promising group of people who can share fresh perspectives. They can challenge norms, they can disrupt our ways of thinking, they're digital natives, so we need to inject them. So we created this roadmap from the 3% of Coca-Cola Europe, of Gen Zers in Coca-Cola Europe. We're trying to aim for 10% in the next 5 years, the more the better. So we believe that we need to drive generational diversity. And the third was employer of choice. You would always think we're attractive because we're a massive company. In Forbes ranking, we're always among the top employers. But if you break down the scores, it's actually the Gen Z pulling us down, because the Gen Z doesn't know Coca-Cola as an employer. They don't have a reference point. We're not on campuses. We don't offer anything. We barely have any opportunities for internship, graduate program, entry-level positions. And we're changing that altogether because now we're launching these 2 new programs. You have Ignite, our internship program for Europe. You have Blaze, our graduate program. And as a result, over the last 1.5 years of running the program, it's a very new program. Probably your graduate programs are more mature, are more established. We've been able to garner significant milestones, 28,000 applications in our second run, over 13 million impressions, so forth and so on. So now we are positioning Coca-Cola not only as one of the most loved brands, but now our employer brand mission is also to position Coca-Cola as a Gen Z first employer. And that is possible through this program. And some campaigns, just to provide more proof points about how we're positioning Coca-Cola as more Gen Z first, let's watch 2 more videos. So you can see here, we're still leveraging imagination a lot, right? And at the same time, we're still leveraging the power of the consumer brand so that we can generate more awareness and eventually drive more call to action, inviting more people to apply. And how about for a graduate program? Amazing. So those are some of the initiatives we've done, just some creative articulations to perhaps provide you some perspectives to inspire you on how you can attract talent to your company. So some trends, so I think it's important also to establish, we have a lot of forces in the world that's reshaping the future of early careers. So therefore, first, there's an expectation from the Gen Zers to provide a more hybrid working arrangement. So where are we? So it's more a question, it's maybe a way to ask ourselves, what are we doing to provide more flexibility to empower our employees? Second would be career fluidity. So there's a big survey globally asking, what specialization do you want to pursue as a Gen Zer? Is it marketing, finance, manufacturing, technical, so forth and so on? They want to be generalists. They don't want to put their egg in one basket, so they're very fluid, and they also want to set more boundaries wherein they're able to pursue personal passions, they can do side gigs. So they want to be a lot of things just for them to have more safety net for themselves. And of course, they want to be more digital. The world wants us to really continuously adapt and accelerate digital capabilities. And of course, we want people to always belong. So if you feel that you're more belong, we actually become more performant as an organization. So belonging actually contributes to a more high performance culture in the organization. So with that, we do evolve as well. Imagine 1.5 years running the early careers program in Europe. We just established the baseline. So you can see here what I said earlier, the 3 objectives: future talent pipeline, generational diversity, employer of choice for Gen Z. But now we're running our 2nd year, and you can see how much we're evolving. So now the question is about how do you accelerate their capabilities? They're young talents, but they have the potential to outperform peers who are more experienced, right? Second, we're massive as the Coca-Cola system. So how do we expose them to our system partners with our partner bottlers in Coca-Cola Hellenic, Coca-Cola Europe Pacific partners, so forth and so on? How do we provide them a sense of community that you're not only an intern or a graduate in Bulgaria, but you can actually connect with your peers, fellow interns, fellow graduates within the wider Europe early careers community. And another interesting thing that we're now exploring is we're not only winning candidates when we visit Bulgarian universities, we also want to win them as potential consumers. So we now partner with the marketing team to showcase not only our employer brand, but also our consumer brand. And so these are like new priorities we're driving as we continuously evolve and drive the early careers agenda. And what are the skills? So there's a global consensus now, so this took lots of research. I think this is like my 4th time presenting it. I presented this to Athens last time, to London. So these are the skills that we need to invest in to really equip them for the future. First is adaptability and learning agility. So are they curious? And how do we make sure that they're able to be comfortable in ambiguity? Because things are ever-changing. It's so fast-paced. So are they comfortable and are they able to figure things out and thrive in ambiguity? So it's important that they're able to adapt fast, to learn new things fast, and this also includes being able to unlearn previous things. Second, of course, is digital literacy and AR proficiency, and this is not only referring to ChatGPT. So this is about using AI tools so that Gen Z can simplify work. They can better analyze data. If they're given data, how are they able to generate insights? And how are they able to effectively communicate it to their target audience? So how are they able to use AI so that they can be enabled and become significantly more efficient, productive, and effective at work? Third is collaboration and communication. And sometimes they're scared. Sometimes they're exhausted because of hyper-information everywhere. So how are we helping them collaborate effectively with different stakeholders given the agile nature of work today? Like, it's so fast, it's so complex, and you will have to work with different stakeholders, so we're no longer as siloed as before. And then finally, resilience. So how do we make sure that we help them not to give up? Because things are going to be extra difficult today. We have limited resources. There are changing priorities, and it gets frustrating for the Gen Z just to get things done. So how do we help them become more resilient and be able to overcome different adversities? And with that, this is a sample case, and we've recently launched it in Europe. In response to the skills we need to develop for the future, in response to the ever-evolving workforce, we launched very, very recently, and it's perfect timing, it's the first time I'm presenting this, the next gen talent program for Coca-Cola Europe, wherein we learn on the job 70% of the time. We learn 20% through feedback and coaching, and 10% would be like the structured classroom training. So we want to reimagine the 20%, 10%. So how do we do conversations with leaders, with peers, with colleagues? What is that 10% that you're stuck in an online training, but how do we make it fun, meaningful, and enjoyable so that we can make learning and development more effective? So apart from the 70% on-the-job learning, like you have to be good at what you do as a graduate, as an early talent, as an entry-level specialist, what are the interventions that we can do in early careers to help you accelerate your capability so that you can grow and contribute much faster than ever before? So you can see here 3 pillars. So the skills lab, and if you notice, the skills lab is we have the list of specific skills that will equip you for the future. So this was like backed up by lots of research in partnership with several agencies to identify what are the skills we need in the future that the Gen Z should possess for them to succeed at work today. Second would be leadership access. So we call it leadership chats. So I think traditionally, leaders are up there. They're hard to reach. We can't access them. But it's different when you have an in-person fireside chat with a leader who's so inspiring, who's so vulnerable, who's so human and so real. So I think it makes us rethink that instead of being very traditional, that leaders would only do top-down communication, leaders only talk to fellow senior leaders, we're changing that altogether. And I am sure you guys have initiatives such as reverse mentoring, fireside chat, so forth and so on, but we need to make this part of the leadership culture. So they don't just visit for the sake of ticking off a requirement that I talk to a young talent, but it's part of our way of life in the company. And then finally, a sense of community. So we have tribes, we have groups. We want to make sure that we're able to make meaningful connections within the company to improve collaboration. Having that sense of community is a must. So we're doing a lot of creative engagement initiatives to make the experience fun and meaningful as well. So these are among the 3 pillars we've developed under the Next Gen Talent Program. And finally, I think I'm about to conclude my presentation. I hope I wasn't speaking super fast. How do we win them at the end of the day? So now that we have an idea, there's so many trends happening today. How do we adapt as a company, right? What are the skills that we need to develop? What is a structured framework intervention that we can do so that we can make them more confident? It's the idea of giving more career confidence that will help them for the future, right? So I think it helps by inspiring and exciting them. So this is where a bit of employer branding comes in. So let's make sure that we are able to articulate our value propositions, that we are here as a Gen Z first employer who will invest in them, right? So we want to make sure that we are social first, right? That we're present in the key channels where they're usually at. Let's make sure that we tell our people's stories. So essentially, we communicate authentic stories of our people. They're the best testimonials. They're the ultimate asset of your employer brand strategy, our very own people, because that's what Gen Zers are looking for, not super polished corporate statements, but actually personal stories of how happy and meaningful working in your company is. And then, of course, connecting with purpose. I want to conclude it with an exciting video. This is the second to the last slide. So value proposition. So make sure that you are intentional with what you want to communicate. So in Coca-Cola Europe, we created our early talent value proposition that has 4 pillars. So it's about growth, it's about innovation, belonging, and impact. If you think about it, it connects to our overarching company identity. And you can see here some of the opportunities where we can showcase them, especially on social media. All right? And this is a sample application of what it looks like creating a call to action, creative articulation that will excite them to work for your company. So this is how I would like to close my presentation. So that's pretty much it for me today. And I guess I just want to close it by saying that we are investing in Gen Z actually not for tomorrow, but for today. They're already like 30% of our workforce. And I think we have a critical role to play to help unleash their potential, to help accelerate their future so we can have a brighter tomorrow for our respective organizations. So happy to connect if you want to have more chat later, but thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm very thankful and happy to be here.